I just want to welcome you. This is our Foundations of Wellness program. It's an opportunity we like to put on regularly for folks in the community, and it'll be recorded, saved, and published through social media. And so, if you'd like to share it, we'll gladly get this resource in your hands. Today, we're incredibly excited to be on with Dr. Charles Lunn of Centennial Health. Dr. Charles Lynn's got a quite a unique story, and so we're excited to hear from him and kind of hear about what his journey's been on. At the Lynn Institute, we work with a lot of vulnerable populations, and it's our goal to bring resources and connect folks to resources that may be lacking in their community. And we do so through programming, a lot of the tenets surrounded by hope, and trying to incorporate those things into our work and find our partners, try to work with them to do the same. And so you'll continue to see opportunities like this with Foundations of Wellness coming in the near future. And so I'll continue to keep you on the list and keep you plugged in. But one thing to note as we go through this and chat here for a little bit is if you have questions, we love questions. Dr. Charles Lynn, who's done this with us so many times, he really likes to engage folks with those questions and get those answers. And so please put them in the chat. If you've got a question, you can raise your hand and I'm sure we can get your question answered. But really, it's a pleasure to have you on. So with that, Dr. Charles Lunn, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Like I said, and I know you said it some time ago, you said, Anthony, I love doing these things. Keep calling me back. And I'm going to keep taking you up on that, Dr. Lunn. We appreciate you having you on. Every now and then when I chat with folks who've been able to be on calls with this or other programs where you spoke with us, we appreciate how open you are and how engaged you are with the folks on the call. So really, thank you so much. And I'm excited to kind of toss things to you and get this thing rolling.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for showing up. One reason I do like these things is that I get to see people's lips. During this pandemic, we've been isolated. What I want to talk today is something way different than I would normally talk about. Mostly, I deal with science and medicine and facts and things that are very objective. This is basically my story. And I want everybody to realize it's an anecdote. And I'm just telling this because I think it may help some people. So the reason I'm telling this story is that, Steve, you want to go ahead and show the first picture? Okay, so this is a picture of me. That baby boy, he's currently 23 years old. That is my father. And that's me. I weighed 298 pounds in that picture. So the reason I'm showing the picture, and we can take that picture away, it's really disgusting, Steve. Great. Okay, I look better now. The reason I'm telling that story is that recently I've had a lot of my patients who I've seen over the years come in and they just want to talk to me about how I was able to lose 70 pounds and keep it off well over 20 years. And I thought I'd just tell people, because a lot of times when people talk about a weight loss story, they're trying to sell you something. They're trying to sell you a product, a membership, a pill, a surgery, or something like that. I am not selling you anything. I'm just telling you what I did. And I think it was a easy, hard way to lose weight and keep it off. So if this helps somebody, great. If it doesn't, then you got to hang out with lunchtime with me. So obviously the first picture is my motivation. That is my baby boy. I was 37 at the time. And that was my father. I come from a family of very large folks. In fact, right now I'm still the tallest and the slimmest member of my family. My mother is the best cook of a family of girls from Georgia, so we know how to eat. We ate big portions. We always finished our plate. We always had dessert. She was also a wonderful baker. We always, you could choose between 2 or 3 pies and a cake to finish. So at age 37, I had been in practice for 9 years, started when I was 28. I just had my first son, a little late on that. I was clocking in just shy of 300 pounds. I went and saw my physician, and my blood pressure was slightly high. My blood sugar was slightly high. And it was this kind of this old cranky doctor. And I said, "What do you think?" And he said, "Well, it looks like you're just too damn fat." Uh, in my practice, that does not work well if I say that to people. We already know we're overweight, right? And I said, "Well, what should I do about that?" And he said, "Well, why don't you lose weight?" And and I was looking for him to give me some more advice than that. And then as a doctor, I actually realized I don't have any more advice. I had come from I did residency in Missouri, and Oklahoma is a different medical kind of facility state. People in Oklahoma like to request drugs. And when I first came here, there was a drug, phentermine, still a weight loss pill. And people would come and say, "Doc, give me some of that phentermine." Well, in Missouri, if you wrote a diet pill, you had to call the medical board to explain why you did it, because the diet pills just don't work. So it was just really strange. Then it was about the time people were doing gastric bypass, balloons, slim fast, and then if anybody's old enough to remember, Fin, which actually is a diet pill that worked. Unfortunately, it's caused pulmonary hypertension and was taken off the market. And quite a few, I still have some patients who suffer from the side effects of Fin. And yes, indeed, they are no longer thin. People often always ask me, "Doc, just give me something to get me started." And there's really nothing. So, Steve, if you would like to show up the picture of my mentor and who helped me with this. You guys remember this? I do. I was a resident. Oprah Winfrey came out looking good, wearing those jeans, the black sweater. You want to show the other picture? No, that's me. No, not that one. Yeah, this one. Oprah ran a marathon. She actually ran a really good marathon and lost 70 pounds. Now, why am I showing that? Am I showing that to shame Oprah? The answer is no. I'm showing is that's the more normal thing. People would get on a fad diet and they would lose weight or something like that, and they would sell it. In Oprah's case, I remember the first thing, she lost weight to wear the sweater she was using a powder diet. Then there was this book called The Rosie Cookbook. Then there was another diet she was on. And then there was the marathon. And, currently Oprah owns Weight Watchers. So we can take that away. I don't want to shame Oprah anymore. Or, she is a great person and really, she struggles with weight the same as we all do. But when I think about when I was contemplating I needed to lose weight, I needed to think about all the successful people that I'd met. I had not met anybody successful with losing weight and keeping it off. Just hadn't. I had seen people unsuccessful. I had read articles about new pills and all these other things. So I had to come to the conclusion that I would have to do it myself. So this is what I did. I assessed my advantages and my disadvantages to losing weight. The first advantage I have is that I'm a man. That is a big deal. Men can lose weight. I had advantages that I was married, advantages that I'm financially stable, advantages that I'm obsessive, which is really good. Had health insurance. I saw that doctor, realized I didn't have any other health concerns. Those are huge advantages to starting on a trek of lifestyle change. Disadvantages. My biggest disadvantage was genetics and work. At the time, I would get up at 5:30 every morning, be at the hospital. Then I would work all day. At noon, I'd go back to the hospital, and I'd come home at 7 o'clock every night. Every weekend, I would spend 6 to 7 hours doing paperwork, and on call was even worse. rounding at 3 hospitals, running a Saturday clinic, and fielding up to 80 phone calls. So that sucked. And I would have to change things to make that better. Other thing, I really, really wanted to spend time with my new baby. I was working 84 hours a week. You know, you come home and you fall asleep holding a baby. That was not cool. So what I decided to do was start off incrementally with something that I could control, something that I wouldn't miss. So I'm just going to tell you what I did. I don't know if it works for anybody else. The first thing I started, if anybody remembers, the first coffee shop I really remember in Oklahoma City was downtown, called Java Dave's. And they had this thing called a Frappuccino. And every day, right after work or before going to the hospital, I would go get a Frappuccino. You know, it was, this was before they mandated calories on things, but it was probably about 800 calories. I'd suck it down and then drink a Coke. I gave up for the Java Dave's Frappuccino. And I gave it up for 1 month. It didn't hurt. You know, I felt okay. You know, it was like was saving money. So the next thing I gave up was Kentucky Fried Chicken. About every other day, just to pick me up on the way back and forth to the hospital, I'd get 3 or 4 wings. I gave it up. Just said, you know, I'm not going to do it. The car smelled better. I didn't have chicken bones in the car. The third thing, my wife and I used to love chicken fried steaks, and we would go get one every week. So I just gave that up. With that said, over that 2 to 3 month period, I lost 4 pounds. Now, I was 298 pounds and I lost 4 pounds, but I was excited over 2 or 3 months. You say, well, doc, that sucks. You know, you're not, you know, Oprah did more than you. Well, let's do some math here. So in 3 months, I lost 4 pounds. That means in 1 year, I would lose 16 pounds. That means in 2 years, I would lose 32 pounds. That means in 3 years, I would lose 48 pounds. And that means in 4 years, I would lose 7 pounds just doing that. That excited me. That was the kind of weight loss we as physicians tell people they should do. And I was well on the way by just changing 3 things that I didn't need to do. So I was excited. So then comes the exercise component of this. So the exercise component, which I started after the 3 month period, was I had other advantages. I was a former athlete, football player, wrestler, shot putter, did all these things. But all that weightlifting, you know, like if you guys seen those really old muscular men, they don't exist. You see that little old man, that little old woman. You don't see that big old strong muscular man. Weightlifting is not a long-term thing. At 37, I'm almost 40, you know, you're not going to be buff forever. So I needed to do aerobics. And literally, I had no idea how to do it. I started to use the advantages that I had. One of the advantages, I went to the YMCA and I would go there and lift weights. And I saw these people, women, basically women, doing step aerobics. I did not know how to sign up. Just didn't know. Little embarrassed. So one day they were getting out of class and I waited for the instructor to come out and ask her how I signed up and did I have to pay any extra. I didn't know it was part of the membership. And she said, no, just show up. And I said, well, what do I need? She said, you need to bring steps or shorts and, you know, be patient with yourself. And this is the one thing I think most people don't understand. People, even this very, very fit 50-year-old woman who runs this class was welcoming of this 294-pound guy to come to her exercise class. She was encouraging. So I showed up the next morning. It's like a 6 o'clock class or something like that. And she had actually showed me how to do a couple of steps and I did the steps. My goodness, after 5 minutes, I wanted to sit down. I thought I was going to die. It was true. I was uncomfortable. I was sweating. Stuff was clinging all over the place. You know, I was fat, so stuff was jiggling all over the place. It was horrible and it was embarrassing. And the people in the class said, that's okay. You will be able to do this later. Take your rest now. They were very, very encouraging of me. These are very, very fit people, but they like taking the time saying, look, just rest. Not everybody's going to get it. So at that point, I made a commitment. For 3 months, I was going to show up 3 days a week to go to that class. It hurt. It hurt bad. I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to do it. I was uncomfortable. I realized that I can't wear cotton anymore. I've got to wear like something that'll breathe. I had to get some better shoes. And then I got a heart rate monitor. But after 3 months, something happened one day, and you guys may have heard about this. I got a runner's high. Now, a runner's high is when you exercise enough that you've triggered dopamine release. A dopamine release is the same thing you get from taking narcotics and or marijuana. Man, I felt great. I felt so good. Now, let me tell you how long I had to be in my target zone, because I was doing my target zone. I was in my target zone for 12 minutes. 12 minutes. That's all it took. All of a sudden, man, this eureka, I feel great. I want to do it again. I remember that I cut the office off early that day because I did it that morning, ran in the morning, or I did the exercise in the morning. And then that afternoon, I kind of slipped out of the office, told my wife I'd be late. I ran back and got another aerobics class. And it happened again. It was wonderful. I mean, it's great. So now when I exercise, I get high. It improves my mood. I feel great. If I'm having a crappy day at the office and I'm kind of a little feisty with the nurses, they're like, dude, you need to exercise. They don't tell me to go down to the marijuana dispensary. They tell me, they say, go exercise, get yourself a little bit, and that was something very, very planned. I knew that I could do that, but I knew it would take 3 months. So combining the exercise along with the dietary change. I'm not saying restrictions. I just changed. Like, I never eat fried chicken in the car anymore. And I never get a Java Dave's Frappuccino or anything. I just don't do it. It's just not in my best interest. And now I don't like it. I switched over to a lot of things. So the next step on the exercise was basically diversifying the exercise. Let me tell you why I had to diversify the exercises instead of aerobics. So I played football for 4 years in college. I hurt a lot of people. I never got injured. The only fracture I've ever had was a toe fracture. I broke my toe doing step aerobics with a bunch of women. Man, my pride was hurt. I got hurt. I had to walk out. It was not pretty. I mean, it was like I tried to man up and get back on that step, but no, the toe was not good. So I was out for 6 weeks. So that's when I learned you have to diversify your exercise and dedicate. I dedicated 3 days a week to exercise, but with a broke toe, you can't do that. So the next thing, and this is where it's really important to me, is find people. I had this doctor that I worked with, and I saw him bicycle every day back and forth. At the time, he was in his 50s. I thought he was an old dude. Now that I'm getting ready to turn 60, that's not an old dude. But I said, can I bicycle with you? And he said, sure. So I went to the pawn shop, bought a Sears and Roebuck 12-speed, and practiced riding. And he said, because I do that with my broken toe. And I said, okay, now let's meet. And he said, let's go to Lake Overholser and we'll ride around the lake. And I didn't know how far it was around the lake, around Lake Overholser. So we ride around, we're riding, and man, I am sweating, blowing up. I don't feel good at all. He's literally riding circles around me, talking. And eventually he's laughing, and we got kind of closer to the end of the ride. And he said, okay, let's switch bicycles. And I got on his bicycle, man, it was like a Cadillac. Man, I was doing this and that and feeling good. He gets on my bicycle, all of a sudden he's sweating like a pig. And he's looking at the bicycle. He says, man, this tire's flat, the spoke is broke, it's all rusty, you know, the brakes on. This is horrible. And so we get back to the end of the ride, and we're back, and we pull in front of this. We're near this dumpster, and he turns to me. He says, "You got anything in this bicycle you need?" I said, "No." And I thought he was going to fix it something. And he takes off this little thing I had for like my change and stuff. Picks the bicycle up, and throws it into the dumpster. Turns to me, he says, "Man, you're a doctor. You can afford something better than that." You know, so yeah, I could afford something better than that. So that's exactly what I did. So I went out, and you know, he helped me buy a used good bicycle, and I spent $300. Now I had $300. $300 is, you know, it's nothing for a doctor. It's a big deal for a lot of folks, but $300 will get you a good bicycle. Then I started riding with this guy, and we're clocking, you know, doing 10 miles, and you know. And it's fun because I'm talking to somebody, and then he's holding me accountable. With that said, you know, I ran into a whole other group of people that I could ride with, that I would meet. They're called donut rides, where people meet at Lake Hefner and ride down. They go eat a donut, and it was a big social event. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. By this time, my foot had gotten better, so I started doing aerobics 3 days a week and riding on Saturdays. Eventually, after 4 years, 3 to 4 years, because I don't want you to think that I did this overnight. I went to my 3 or 4 years later. I went to the Redbud Classic. The Redbud Classic is every spring. This, you know, we're not having it this year, but I did a 62-mile ride. Now I was still overweight. You know, I was still clocking to like 260, something like that. But I was able to do the ride, and I was feeling really good. That's when I really needed to understand that I needed diversity in my exercise program, along with the social commitment of different people. So that's me. Now, let's talk about how I've maintained and continue to keep my weight down, because I'm at a very comfortable weight at this point. A little hot today. So the first thing is eating habits. Basically, I had to change my eating habits and lifestyle. So in the office, I never eat anything that I didn't bring. Never. Now, if you guys have ever been in a doctor's office, the drug reps come in with the donuts, you know, you got the cakes, you got the luncheon, you got this and that. Man, that is not good for me. So for breakfast every day, I eat a pear, have an orange mid-morning. I always bring the same lunch. I make my lunch every evening to take with me. I have a planned out mid-afternoon snack that's either fruits or like 100-calorie popcorn or something like that. I go home, I usually eat something like a tortilla with some honey on it. You know, I never go to the cabinet and look for the Cheetos. That's a bad idea for me. And then I eat regular food in my household. I eat the same thing everybody else eats. It's a little different. You know, I don't eat a lot of chicken with the skin. I take the skin off. But one of the other habits I have is I drink a big old glass of water, have a salad with my meal. And then on my meal, my kids laugh, I eat on a small plate because I love getting seconds. You know, I get that first, eat that salad, and it's like, okay, let's go back. But I got that little bitty plate. So, you know, you can only put so much on a big, you know, I can stuff it, but you know, so, and then I eat a dessert. Man, that's just what I've been doing for almost 20 years. I started to avoid things that I know are my food crack. My food crack is donuts and chicken. So, you know, I can tell you, and I hope you guys ain't guilty of this. I would come in to the office, get a donut for, you know, I eat my second breakfast, eating a donut. Then about 11 o'clock, you know what, I'm gonna get a second donut. And then I'm leaving the office at 12. Man, those donuts are still there. Ain't but 3, let me take 2. So that's what I have to avoid for me. Still eat regular food. The exercise, I had to diversify my exercise a lot. Now I do several things. I do the spin classes. I do yoga at times. I started running. Guess what I'm back to now? Weightlifting. It turns out that you really need to lift weights. And I still do 3 to 4 days of exercise with a long exercise pattern on a Saturday with either biking or running or something like that. I've ritualized my exercise so that I I always do it. And I'm just going to finish up here quick. Me giving you advice. The first thing is, the biggest obstacle is yourself. You need to set up some times with some non-negotiable things. My family understands Saturday morning, I'm going to go jog or run or do something, and then I'm not going to be back till 10 o'clock. We get together after 10 o'clock and we do everything. I'm going to give you some quotes of things that I've heard people say to me, and they've said it to you. Just one won't hurt you. Why are you always drinking diet soda? That tastes nasty. Come on, skip that meeting. Come on to my meeting. Skip that exercise. Come on to my meeting. It'll be better. We got patients waiting. They don't like when you're not here. Oh, this is a great one for my mom. Boy, that boy, when I was a kid, my name was Little Fat Chucky. Little Fat Chucky would barbecue a cucumber. You're going to hurt yourself if you exercise. You don't want to eat with us. He's still chunky. Now, those are all hurtful things, but I've said them to myself. So the reality is that most people need to make a lifestyle change, or can make a lifestyle change. You have to be committed. You have to be work about your self-preservation, and basically to keep my weight where I want it. And I'm not just talking about my weight. I look at the weight, but I also look at how my clothes fit. I look at how I feel. Yes, according to the my academy, I still sit in the class 2 obesity. I'm cool with that. I am happy at this point. I do what I want, and everything's great. And the best thing is, Steve, if you want to show the last picture, that's me and my boy. That is the Grand Canyon. We hiked out of that ditch. We are going to do it again. That's when he graduated high school. So when that boy was born, I made a commitment to that if we still liked each other, we would go on a road trip when he graduated high school. He graduated high school. Now he's studying engineering, and we still like each other. And we went and did that hike. And guess what we're doing in August? We're doing it again. I will be 60 in August. That's my birthday present. So I want anybody listening to know that this is what helped me. And if it helps anybody else, I'd be glad to share my story. Now, I'm all set for questions.
Dr. Lunn, thank you so much for sharing that. It's I think what I'm able to capture from that is that everybody's got a unique story, right? That's the persistence and the consistency. But with that, I've got a question for you. Say I'm someone who has never been good about exercise, has horrible eating habits, and I want to, but I just don't know what I'm doing. What would you recommend for someone who is saying, where can I just start? What is a good step one starting point?
So the first thing is that is the greatest start. You need to start. Look at one thing. Most of my job, it's funny, my brother is a human resources guy, so he always likes to ask people to break their job down into one sentence. My job is primary care. Basically, my job is to tell people stuff they already know. Doc, you think I ought to lose weight? Yeah. Doc, do you think, I'd exercise? Yeah. But people know what their demons are. If you can do like I did, and that's the reason I remember the Java Dave's Frappuccino. Look at one thing that you do or don't do and change it. And just, try to change it every 2 weeks or 1 month. You will see slow results by doing that. I can't pick for you what you choose. In some people, it may be candy or chocolate. Some other people, it may be they really need to walk a little more. But if you choose one thing and do it for 2 or 3 weeks, I guarantee you, after a couple of few weeks, you're going to feel good about the choice you made, and then you'll be able to choose something else. That's my recommendation, Anthony.
Another question that's come through is, and I got this from your story about your aerobics and your cycling. How do you find a group of folks who will hold you accountable like that and work
Okay,
with you like that?
that is great. Those folks don't hold you accountable. You hold yourself accountable. But the thing about exercise groups, they're always welcoming. People are always afraid to ask. So like donut rides. If you look at the Oklahoma City websites before the pandemic, there's all these donut rides where people just meet up. And like I run with the Oklahoma Land Runners. It is a free exercise group every Saturday where you can meet up with people, and sometimes there'll be 400 people, and you will always find somebody. You say, hey, I've never done this before. Somebody will stop, literally stop with their exercise, talk to you about what you need to do. I have done that so many times when I see somebody who looks like a novice. They say, hey, are you struggling with this? Hey, man, do this. It's okay. Come back. I want you to come back. Everything I suggested has the most welcoming people. It's not a competition. Everybody almost that is participating in one of those was at one of those points where they had to ask somebody to help them. So look at your YMCA, your community center. Look online for running, walking clubs. Sisters in Motion is a very good organization where you just show up. They will be nice. And then they'll say, I'd like to see you come back, and just come back. That's the way you do it.
Okay. And another question, there's two parts to it, is say you're on a tight budget. Say you don't have any discretionary spending, things are tight, but I got to do something. I can't afford a big gym membership or things like
Good.
that. What do I do with that? And then from there, what do I do to not be discouraged if I'm not seeing these quick results?
So the first thing is that what I've suggested is not going to give you quick results. So don't expect quick results. Expect to feel better. And that's, unfortunately, we like quick results, but that's just not the way it goes. Now, as far as economics, like a couple things I just suggested, or 3 things I suggested, are absolutely free. Sisters in Motion is a Black women's group that walks. The Oklahoma City Runners Club is actually free. Oddly enough, these bicycle clubs, there's people like me that I own like 6 bicycles. I just acquired them. I've given bicycles away, because I'm not using it anymore. So if you have limited resources, you can look at these clubs and like right now you've got senior centers that are opening, which apparently are free to Oklahoma City people that you can join. So don't let the money be an obstacle. There's some things you can't show up to these classes naked. I mean, you got to wear some clothes. So, you're going to have some tennis shoes, some socks, at least something presented, but you don't have to buy, Lululemon, things like that. So there are resources. Do not think that I purposely stated all these things because these things were affordable, not for just a doctor. My Y membership is a family membership. It's $40 a month, but it's got my entire family. So for $10 a month, I can afford that. And with that comes lots and lots of classes. So that's my suggestion. Any other questions?
Yeah. Does anybody else have any other questions for Dr. Lunn? Well, with that, go ahead with your question.
Unmute, but did you ever, you lost your weight, and there are times, you can lose your weight, just said, we know what to do, we know all of that, and then we could lose weight, and then we just get into this point where we just stop. and then
Yep.
the weight comes back. So what would you suggest just to kind of get you back motivated, you know?
Okay, so the first thing is that I actually am suffering from that right now. I had surgery 10 weeks ago. The doc took me off of exercise. And so, the pants feel a little tight. When people lose weight, it's not a dive. It's up, down, down. The first thing is to realize that if you don't look at the weight as much as look at your clothes and how you feel. If you're at and that's where you become the diversification of exercise really makes a big difference. CrossFit, I don't do CrossFit because I played football. I do not need somebody yelling at me. But CrossFit is a diversification of the exercises where you're lifting weight and you're doing aerobics all at the same time. If you notice, I have so many different exercises that I do. It diversifies the ability of my body. My body never knows. Like, for instance, you can be a runner and run marathons and gain weight because your body's used to the running. But you throw a yoga class and then all of a sudden your body's like, hey, what's going on? And you'll lose the weight. So the thing that I would suggest in people is don't get into the same routine over and over. Do something new. It's exciting. It's fun. You meet new people with new perspectives. And I will tell you, like I have a jogging buddy. He's one of my best friends. We are politically on opposite spectrums. You know, he's very conservative. I'm very liberal. The best time to talk politics is on a 10-mile run at mile 8. You at mile 8, man, you got to get it in there quick, So that's what I would suggest is diversification and then hanging out with other people and give yourself a break. You're going to gain a little weight and you're going to lose a little weight. It's all good. All right. Any other questions?
Dr. Lunn, this is Tasha. Really quickly, I had to literally get my scale out of view because when you think you've lost weight and the scale says, no, you gained 3 pounds, that is frustrating and you want to stop, so I had to literally move my scale so that I wouldn't be tempted to get on the scale. But I do use my clothes, to help me, to encourage me, okay, you don't need to get on the scale to see that you've gained or lost, just go by the way you feel and the way your clothes fit. But my downfall is going on vacation for a week and a half, and you're out of your regimen. It's different. You can't cook what you would normally cook at home. So that's a tough one when you go on vacation, and it's different.
Well, let me tell you what I do. Now, again, this is an anecdote. It is not for everybody, but I love going on vacations because my family likes to sleep in. They like to sleep till 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock on vacation in a big hotel room. I love to get up and go jog or walk. So when we go on vacation, I will get up and I'll go on a 2-hour walk or jog, and I will see the sights. And in fact, I was telling somebody, we went to Seattle one time. I'm down at Pike Square. I'm watching the ships come in with the flowers, and this is great. I'm having a good time. Then when my family's finally awake, I'm telling them, hey, let's go down here. This is pretty cool. Now, that's me. The other thing, which is really important, is when you're eating out, you have to, you got to remember to do portion control. Now, what I tend to do is I always have leftovers. A lot of times when I'm eating a meal, I know the meal is going to be big. So I will tell the waiter, say, you know what, I'm not that hungry. Can you give me half a portion and put the other half aside for me? So I never see it. Now, I'll give you another story. Now, this has nothing to do with diabetes, but I have a really good friend who is a diabetic and he lost weight. And we were going out to this fancy restaurant. And he says, we sit there and they bring in the bread. And he says, oh, I'm allergic. So we didn't eat the bread. This is how he manages it. He did the same thing, and that's how I learned to ask for half a portion. When he got his portion, he had half of it packed away. And then he said, hey, they got good cake here. You want a piece of cake? And I'm like, sure. So he says, now go ahead. He ordered the cake. Said, now split it in half and give us half of, one of a half a cake, each of us a half a cake. That's when I got mad because I'm not no diabetic. I wanted my whole piece of cake. But nonetheless, that's how I opt with when I'm eating out, is to not see the food and just kind of prepare to have a second one. And it gives me a, you know, like on vacation, the next day, you're always looking for some place to eat lunch. And I just popping up the leftover that I had last night that was really good. So that's my advice. And that's what I do. Any other questions?
Another question we had, Dr. Lunn, is related to bikes. Is there a specific type of bike, or maybe you're a person who's got a larger frame, and what kind of bike should I get?
Okay, so I will give you some advice on bikes. So bikes are very, very interesting. The first thing is, don't buy a bike at a big at Walmart or Academy. Those bikes are great for workouts, but they will beat you up. What bicycles are, there's, you can spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a bicycle, but bicycles need to fit. So what I would do is I would either look at there's bike clubs in Oklahoma City that people sell and give away used bikes, because guys like me are docs, you know, like, I got a bike. Oh, here, let me give it to this kid. I was on a ride with one guy, saw a guy he had a terrible bike, because come to my house, I'll give you a bike. You can go to some of the bicycle stores. They sell used bikes for a fairly reasonable price, and they will fit it to you so that you've got like I'm still not a small guy. I can't use a carbon fiber bike. I need to use aluminum or steel, but the bicycle shop will fit it to you, and it'll be very comfortable. And there's several types of bikes. Most people, if you get a mountain bike, that's a good workout. And riding, and like people say, how far should you ride? Well, if you can ride around Lake Hefner or Lake Overholster, no matter how long it takes, that's 10 miles. That's a good workout. So anyway, that's my advice.
Well, Dr. Lunn, we really appreciate you. It's been a pleasure to kind of hear about your story. I think a lot of times it's really nice to hear folks who have done it, and also not to hear this, perfect to end. It was perfect. I did this and it always was, amazing. To recognize the reality of the ups and downs, I think, is a big part of success. And so we appreciate you being on. We appreciate you sharing this with us. And so, if anybody else has any questions, this is the perfect opportunity to ask them before we break out for the day. Anybody else have any questions?
Well, that's
all
cool.
Right. Well, with that, Dr. Lunn, thank you once again. Everybody else, thank you so much for being on. We're going to continue to have these conversations surrounded by health through the Foundations of Wellness program. Huge thanks to Centennial Health and Dr. Charles Lunn. They're such great partners with us doing programs like this and other programs in the community. And so we're very thankful for their partnership. And I'd love to talk to you or get you connected with Centennial Health or Lynn Institute to see how we could potentially partner on things. If you or anybody at the organization you work with, or maybe folks that you work with through your organization need access to any of these resources we've discussed, please reach out to me and I'll get you connected. But other than that, I hope you guys stay safe, stay well, and we'll hopefully get to see everybody soon. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Lunn.